One of the issues in the case is about how Scientology has influenced this situation. These women, on the one hand, it's a very simple sexual assault case. But on the other, you know, these women spent years not coming forward, and they claim it's because they feared retaliation from the church. They were Scientologists at the time. They're not now. Danny is a well-known Scientologist. So it's part of the case, and Danny's defense keeps trying to kick it out. But the judge has ruled that a limited amount of testimony about Scientology can be a part of this trial.
Absolutely correct, and it's all over this case. Let's bring in Court TV crime and justice correspondent Matt Johnson, joining us live tonight outside the LA County Courthouse. Danny Masterson, former star of that 70s show, now on trial. 3 charges involving the rape of 3 women. Scientology intermingled into this entire case. What happened today, Matt?
Wow, big day, Vinny, out here in California. Bombshell day of testimony with Jane 3 of Jane 1, 2, and 3 that have these rape allegations against that 70s show star. She was on the stand for the latter part of the day, and wow, her testimony, absolutely shocking. Now, we're actually going to name her, and we don't typically name victims in rape allegations, but she has been so vocal. She actually posted something on Instagram, and she's been on talk shows talking about it. This is the post that she made not too long ago with the hashtag #MeToo. It said, "My church told me that it's not rape if he's your boyfriend. My church was Scientology. My boyfriend was Danny Masterson." Well, under direct examination today, she first began to tell the story about how they were in this relationship. She was a model at the time. She was working with Cindy Crawford. They met at a party that she threw at her house with her roommates. She said that he was charming. She said, quote, this is paraphrased, "Tell us about your relationship when you lived together." She said it was good. "I believed that he was very charming, and I fell for him. It was good the first year." But then the relationship took a turn, according to her testimony today. Again, no cameras, so this will be paraphrased again. She said, "He started to become aggressive sexually. I remember back when I came back from Paris, I was really tired, and I was jet lagged, and I had been sick, and he wanted to have sex, and I didn't. And it resulted in a fight where he dragged me by my hair across our bedroom floor." The courtroom became absolutely silent when she began to talk about a second incident, and this is pretty much how the day ended. Listen to this. She was asked, "Was there another incident in November of 2001 that occurred?" She said, "Yes, sir." She speaks like that. She's from Alabama. And he said, "How did that begin?" She said, "I was sleeping and I woke up and he was having sex with me, and I didn't want to. And I told him so. I said, no, I don't want to have sex. I said it so many times and he wouldn't stop." The prosecutor then asked, "Were you screaming? What were you screaming?" She said, "I was screaming like, get off of me." And at that point, he got up and I was lying on my side of the bed and he stood over me and he spit on me and he called me, well, I'm not going to say it, but you get the idea. And then she was talking in her testimony about how the church played a role. Remember, she said the allegations, she couldn't come forward because the church told her not to. We're going to hear more of that tomorrow. She said how she became involved in the church is early on. He told her that she needed to be a member for them to start or continue dating. Quote, "So after 5 months, he made it very clear to me that I must become a Scientologist. He told me that in order to remain in the relationship, I needed to start doing courses." And again, she went on to testify that's how she lost contact with her friends, her family, because they were considered suppressive. They were not Scientologists. And then she went on with her life with him for 6 years and was a Scientologist, Vinny.
And any sort of moments with Danny Masterson today in court? Anything that was observed about him, either looking at her, not looking at her, anything like that?
He looked down a few times during her testimony, but for the most part, Vinny, he really is quite stoic, very little emotion. He looks at the jury as they enter and exit the courtroom. He looks back at his wife. She sits directly behind him each and every day. Behind her is his mother, very high-ranking Scientologist she is. But he just leans back. He crosses his hands, he lets his wedding ring show to the jury, and he just sits back and he listens, and he was listening to this testimony today.
Unbelievable day out in L.A. Matt Johnson, Court TV crime and justice correspondent. Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate it.
Of course.
Let's bring back in our think tank, Al Wunsch, Darnell Crossland, Jennifer Brandt still with us. Jennifer, let's talk about Scientology. It's an obvious part of this case, and through this witness becomes a very big part of it. But how do you think it plays in front of a jury? Does the defendant get a plus or a minus from the part that he is associated with Scientology?
Well, I don't think it's a plus. I definitely think it's a minus in this case. I think that, it seems like there was an overall sort of aura of the church will protect him, that the church is going to stifle anyone who tries to speak out against him. But I don't think he can blame his actions on the church or their teachings, or that somehow that had anything to do with what he allegedly did to these women. I just think that it may be a reason why a woman like the woman we just heard about, Jane Doe 3, didn't necessarily come forward right away or spend 6 years in this relationship and was not necessarily talking about what was going on, because maybe she felt a bit stifled and that she couldn't speak out against him, and was, sort of convinced to stay in this relationship that was somewhat allegedly supported by the church. So I think that's the kind of role that it'll play in here.
Al, what fascinates me about this is that Danny Masterson, the defense, trying to keep the church out of the trial, the church trying to, separate themselves from Danny Masterson. Who's making who look bad here? Is the church making Danny Masterson look bad, or is Danny Masterson making the church look bad?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, I'm not very familiar with this guy's work. I mean, I vaguely remember him from an episode of Jake Fat a number of years. But other than that, I've never seen the 70s show, so I don't really know what he's done. But I can tell you this. Scientology has always been about a game of control, power. And this is demonstrating it clearly. It's control and power. And so from the standpoint of who's doing the injustice to who, well, Scientology has always believed that they have been persecuted unfairly from the days back when L. Ron Hubbard was alive. And he fought to not have to pay tax because he believed that he was the church. Then he said, well, we're not a religion, but we're entitled to this. So there's always been this kind of seesaw thing with regards to, and the picture we get is that this is a privileged group of people, mostly white, okay, that are all big-time actors and things along those lines. They get tremendous success because they are part of the Scientology family. It's a very scary cult. And, we've seen pictures, we've seen documentaries about what this cult do if you run afoul of it. So I do think that it's going to be a bad stain on both Mr. Masterson and a bad stain on.
So, Darnell, so how does this play in this case in front of this jury? If you've got, 3 women coming in, it goes back to the early 2000s, but the explanation for the delay seems to be connected to the church. Danny Masterson's connected to the church. There's been reference to church members being inside that courtroom from the witness stand, references to church members being there. So how does this whole issue play out, and does it help or hurt Danny Masterson?
Well, a couple things. There's nothing unusual about what we call latent disclosure cases where things happen far early in a relationship and they're disclosed, much later. But what strikes me is that when you look at the people involved here, you have Hollywood, and we just had a big Hollywood trial just up the street from where I'm sitting here in D.C. in the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. And when you look at these players, you say, well, he's no Johnny Depp, she's no Amber Heard. But there's something that rings true about what she says. In terms of what the prosecution is doing with the church, is they're trying to show that this is a cult. Even when they reference the fact that his mother's in court and she's a high-ranking Scientologist, you don't hear people say there's a high-ranking church lady with a big hat on. There's no ranks in so to speak from the church. But so they're trying to say this like this cult, this army of powerful people, that because of that power, this woman was forced not to be able to speak the truth. We all know the big famous Scientologist, Tom Cruise. and how that played out. So I think this is going to play well for the prosecution to show that he had this army of people behind him that was bearing down on this woman, but for them, she would have come forward much sooner. So, I think that that's going to play in the prosecution's favor.
Does anyone expect him to testify?
I do. He has to tell a story.
He has to. I think I agree with Darnell. I think he absolutely has to tell his story because you have 3 women coming forward saying that he did something to them. I think he has to offer some kind of explanation.
So let me throw this out. If he does testify, this guy's a professional actor. And we've seen some good performances right here. We've seen him in the past as well. What are your thoughts, Al, about this actor taking the stand and telling his story?
Well, if anyone's going to take the stand, it's perfect to have an actor because he can exhibit the amount of pathos necessary, the amount of passion necessary, and he can cry upon command. So it's going to be it's an excellent scenario with regard, and he was excellent in that episode of Big Fat.
He made a lot of money, Al, in that 70s show. It's syndicated. It's a very successful show. I know you haven't seen it, but anyway, great job tonight. Al Wunsch, Darnell Crossland, Jennifer Brandt. Appreciate your time, your expertise, and of course, your insight.